that it is really conclusive, what has been brought forward. Iran has built 2 nuclear power plants on the Persian Gulf, and the world is not, nor is the U.S. quarreling with that. They are simply saying that next to that program there is also a military program. And while in the case of North Korea, the U.S. is offering North Korea a lot of guarantees that North Korea will not be attacked if they abandon the nuclear program. There is no such offer being made in the case of Iran. On the contrary, the threat seems still to be in the air that the U.S. could attack Iran. And under such circumstances, the Iranians are not giving away. I think that it would be far better if they were to say to the Iranians that inspection and a nuclear power program would be all right.
According to the Washington Post, Iran has offered to discuss cooperation spanning nuclear disarmament, peaceful nuclear technology, improved UN nuclear supervision, and what it calls a fair solution for the plight of Palestinians. It was revealed last year the Bush administration rejected a similar overture in 2003. Meanwhile, this news comes as the White House is denying a new report that it plans to attack Iran before Bush leaves office. On Monday, Israel's Army radio reported a senior member of the Bush entourage told a high-level meeting last week in Jerusalem that Bush and Cheney believe an attack is called for. President Bush was there for the 60th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel. Hans Blix.
I think the Iranians are very purposely developing a nuclear power program. Some people say that this is not justified, they have enough oil, but so does Mexico also develops a nuclear power program in spite of the fact that they have oil. They've also undertaken some steps there that I think one has reason to be suspicious about. They are enriching uranium, and this is not really called for in a country that has only 2 nuclear power reactors. It would be more economic for them to import nuclear fuel from abroad, and they have in fact been offered such export from Russia. So the negotiations are intense, and one option I think would be that there would be a very close inspection of the enrichment facility that they are building. Another one would be that there would be guarantees of export of enriched uranium to Iran. And that would certainly be safer, because if you have an enrichment plant, you can go from 5% to 4% enrichment that is needed to produce nuclear fuel to 85 or 90% that is needed for a weapon purpose. So it would be safer for the world if Iran did not have enrichment, and that is also the line that the commission that I headed was recommending. The Iranians have so far insisted on having their own enrichment capability, and they have come a long way on it. However, I think that the Iranians, one must also look at it in the geographical context. The zone free of weapons of mass destruction for the whole Middle East, including both Iran and Israel, is a proposal that has been long on the table. The Israelis are not going to do away with their nuclear weapons for sure at the present time, but maybe one could have a zone of a more limited purpose, that there would be no further enrichment of uranium in the area. That would at least prevent that Israel produce more nuclear weapons than they do at the present time. And the whole zone is one in which many other countries are planning to go for nuclear power. And I think the world would gain if they all joined a zone in which no enriched uranium were produced, but in which they were sure that they would get fuel from abroad.
Iran's nuclear program was one of the issues that came up at the World Economic Forum on the Middle East. The conference was held in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. This is what the head of the IAEA, Mohammed al-Baradei, said about Iran's nuclear program Monday.
The Iranian issue is part of this regional security in the Middle East, which is totally absent. You will not have a regional security structure in the Middle East as long as you have a region where no country, including Israel, has nuclear weapon, chemical weapon, biological weapon.
Also at the conference, the Egyptian Foreign Minister, Ahmed Abulghait, asked why Iran was being singled out.
Would you please tell me, did anybody raise the issue of the Israeli nuclear capability? Why are you hiding it? Tell me, convince me, why are you hiding the Israeli nuclear capability? Is it only Iran? Mind you, the moment, and I hope not, Israel is declared nuclear capable and you have an Iranian nuclear capability, I assure you there would be others too.
That was the Egyptian foreign minister. Hans Blix, your response.
Well, in the 1980s, Iran had a severe war with Israel and with Iraq, and they rightly suspected that the Iraqis were aiming at a nuclear weapon. And I think we can see the roots of the Iranian program as a possible defense against Iraqi nuclear weapons. However, with the defeat of Iraq in 2003, there would be no justification for Iran to seek nuclear weapons any longer. I think that it is right then to try to search for a zone free of nuclear weapons. But so long as Israel feels threatened, this will not happen. And the state in between, the state before that, would be to assure at any rate that there would be no production of highly enriched uranium and all plutonium. And that will also involve Israel. And that is one idea that has been floating by the commission, which I headed, that in the whole Middle East there would be an agreement not to produce highly enriched uranium or plutonium.
Explain that further.
Well, Israel is not likely to give up its nuclear weapons until you have a peaceful settlement in the Middle East. And let's hope that that comes sooner rather than later. But they could stop producing more plutonium. They have enough to defend themselves at the present time. And you have many countries in the Middle East that are now planning to go for nuclear power. Several of them have declared that they will not go for any enrichment or for reprocessing, but it would be an advantage to have an agreement over the whole Middle East that none of them would produce any plutonium or enriched uranium. And if that were to include Israel, Israel would at least do something to contribute to an agreement. And the Iranians could get guaranteed assurances about the supply of uranium that they need for their nuclear power plants in the future. This is one idea that was launched in the commission that I headed and that presented a report 2 years ago.
I wanted to ask you about the U.S. presidential elections. Hillary Clinton, the senator from New York, presidential candidate, was asked by ABC on April 22nd what she would do as president if Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel. She responded, "I want the Iranians to know if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. In the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them." Your response, Hans Blix.
Well, I think these are very hypothetical questions. The Iranians are in the beginning of a nuclear program in which they tell the world that they are willing to have full inspection of the enrichment facilities which they are building. The world is saying that it would be safer and better if they didn't have any enrichment at all, if they were to be given guarantees that they could receive the enriched uranium that they need for the nuclear power reactors that they have. So I think going this far is not helpful in the discussion at the present stage. It would be better if the Iranians do not have enrichment of their own, and that's what the aims are, both of the Bush administration and of the Europeans. However, there's a difference between the negotiations carried out with North Korea and Iran. In the case of North Korea, there is a guarantee that North Korea will not be attacked if they are doing away with their nuclear program. But there is no guarantee in the air to Iran against an attack from the outside, even on any circumstance. And on the contrary, rather, I think they feel rather threatened by the military build-up of the U.S. in the Persian Gulf.
Hans Blix, what do you think of Mordechai Vanunu, imprisoned for almost 2 decades, continues a tremendous pressure within Israel, the man who worked at the Dimona power plant and revealed to the world that Israel had nuclear weapons?
Well, I think it's very unfair. This man was sent, he was kidnapped in Rome and brought to Israel, and he was